Wow. Well, Tawakkol, welcome. It is truly a pleasure to have you. And I just have to, before I'm going to do a brief intro, but I know that life has been, continues to be challenging for your safety. And the fact that you've taken the time to share your wisdom with American civil society is just a great gift. So thank you for taking the time. And Lynn, it's good to see you again, and always a delight. So I'm going to do a brief intro. And Tawakkol, I want to make sure if you don't understand something, we will take the time and I'll repeat it. So please, this is about sharing wisdom and not worrying about presentation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. So just a little bit, I'd like to give people a little bit more background about your insights and your experiences. So you grew up in Taiz, Yemen, the third largest city, during a time of great tumult and unrest in the country. Certainly a very distressing time for a child, to say the least. You experienced the unification of North and South Yemen in 1990. You also lived through the civil war that followed between the two factions in 1994, which the North won, and the subsequent dissidents in the South as the North's repressive government took control. Your father is a lawyer and a politician who served and later resigned as legal affairs minister in the Salon government. And your sister, Tariq, is a poet, a journalist for Al Jazeera, a lawyer, and the first Yemen citizen to graduate from Harvard Law School. You yourself received an undergraduate degree in commerce from the University of Science and Technology at Sana'a, as well as a graduate degree in political science from the University of Sana'a. So there's clearly a strong interest in politics and policy that seems to run through your whole family, and along with a very profound commitment to human rights and standing up against an oppressive government. And like your sister, you're also a journalist, and in fact founded an organization that we'll talk about in a little bit that fights on behalf of media rights. So to start, I always like to have a little bit of background for folks about your personal story. So it sounds like your childhood was not idyllic. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences as a child and growing up with the events that kind of sparked your struggle for democracy and human rights?
Okay, thank you, Daniel, and hello, Lynn, and all people here, especially from the American NGOs. I'm so proud to be with you here. I am a Yemeni woman. I grew up in a very unfortunately poor country, conservative country that suffer from many crises in economic, in security, in social, in politics, in everything. And all this crisis is caused by the dictator, Ali Abdullah Saleh. So I was born after 1 year after his, being as a president. I born in 79 and he was a president in 78. So in most of my life, I didn't know any president, just him. And he was really a dictator that doesn't respect. He's a dictator and a thief at the same time, a very corrupt dictator. And he stolen most of the wealth of my country. And also he tried to portray Yemen as a country of terrorists. And that was his mission, and that was his tool to convince the West, and especially America, on supporting him. So he used the terrorism as a tool to oppress his opponent, and at the same time to steal money and to have money and support and fund from the Western government, especially from America. So I grew up in this country, but at the same time, I grew up under, the privilege, and I was, and still I am proud that I am a Yemeni, and I know very well what Yemen is as a great country with a great history, history of richness and also history of democracy and history of respect human rights in general and women in particular, because we as Yemeni are the only country in the region that ruled by two queens, two great queens, Queen of Sheba, Bilqis, and Queen Arwa. And we have also another queens. And in the, under the rule of these queens, Yemen was a democrat and was the most rich country in the region. So I know very well what is my history, what is the history of my country, and at the same time, what is the resources of my country. My country has a very good wealth in oil, in fish, in also the people itself is a very good resource, and we have many natural resources like gold, like the environmental itself. So I know how Yemen is a very good country, but the problem is not with the Yemen resources or the Yemen cultural or Yemen history or Yemen. The only problem is with Yemen current government and authoritarian regime. So I started my struggle from the head, so calling for the solution. So I always said that we can't have a healthy society or a good society under the rule of any dictator. There is no development under the dictatorship. There is no peace under dictatorship. Any peace under dictatorship, that means that is fake peace. So I started my struggle from the head against the dictator Ali Abdullah Saleh, and that was my even when I was a child, I started with criticizing the situation in my country.
So I want to make sure Lynn has an opportunity. I want to just follow up on one piece, which we in the United States now, as
Daniel, I don't know if I have a problem in my laptop. If you can just loud your voice, because I couldn't hear you very well. I don't know what is the problem.
Let me just try this. Is that any better? Is that better?
Little bit, yeah, little bit, yes.
I will try and speak up more. We in the United States are experiencing a moment where young people are very much taking up the demand for more justice. You at the time were the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner. And so, what was it like to take up a leadership at 32 to be all of a sudden on the national stage as a leader for your country and a global leader for justice, women's rights, and human rights?
First, I am so proud of the movement in the US. And I am so proud that the youth, they are the leader of this movement, And this is when I see, this thousands or 10,000s or sometimes 100,000s of people in US, demonstrating for rights, any right that they are calling for, that remind me our struggle, And I said, I always saying that I bet on America as a values and also as a nation, as a civil society, as youth, as women, and so I am confident that this battle at the end, people will win, this battle. Youth are rising the slogan of equality. They are rising the slogan of against racism, and also against any deterioration of American values, like excluding or banning the immigration, or banning Muslims from entering America, or supporting women's rights. So that is very, very important. And I think this is a very important step for them as a youth and for them as American people to struggle, not just for them in America, for all the people around the world, because this is their rule and this is their responsibility. They should know that they are the leader of the world, and they have to make this country, America, to be strong country, not to be weak country. America should be strong under the values of establishment, America under the freedom, equality, justice, not under any kind of other, benefits that supports dictators. And they should protect America and the American national, interest by supporting the people around the world who are defending and sacrificing for human rights, for equality, for freedom, for democracy. Because dictators that been supported by American administration, they are the threat of global peace, and they are the threat of American interest and national interest, and they are the threat of those people that they are, demonstrating every day or, every round, in America. So I am so proud of them, and I should tell them that we, under the rule of dictators, under the fire, under their repression, under their violence, we didn't stop. We didn't fear all their violence. We didn't fear all their repression. And we didn't fear even the counter revolutions that came after they, stepped down or they leave, the sense, the political sense. The counter revolution now in our countries, led by Saudi and UAE, they are committed crimes more than the dictators themselves. And we have, even with that, we didn't, stop our struggle. We didn't stop our dream, and we will keep fighting, struggling, sacrificing for our freedom, for our democracy, and we will not stop. They should also didn't stop. They don't have the same, hard conditions that we are suffer from. So they shouldn't stop. They should, catch on their dream, and on their, they should insist that they will, and they should know that they will be the winner, no matter how long it will take. One day they will win this battle, and one day the history will write what they did, and what they will do for America, it will be for all people around the world.
I just got to stop for a second and just, that is a powerful charge to American civil society. And I just thank you. And I think it's a stark and sobering reminder to us that our struggles, though real and very important within our country and searingly important, actually support leaders like yourself who are in other parts of the world, and there is solidarity among the two of us, or among our nation. So thank you. Then I want to make sure your smarts and wisdom get in this conversation.
Yeah, well, first of all, Tawakkol, it's good to see you. And I just wanted to see, are you in Istanbul now? Is that where you are?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am in Istanbul.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I live now in US. I just moved 1 year.
In where?
Before, so I live in I live in US. I
Oh,
live in Boston.
yes, but
Yeah,
right now you're in
I'm in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Now I am in Istanbul.
Yeah, so, and I know it's night there. Given the work that you and I do together with the other Nobels who've won the Peace Prize that are women, I want to focus a little bit on women, because it's so amazing that you've done what you've done as a Yemeni woman, given the conditions and the cultural set around women in your country, and that you've been fighting for the rights of women in Yemen, who are often thought of in your country as I understand it, as part of the problem rather than the solution. But you know that, and I know that women are always a huge part of the solution. So for people who are not aware, can you describe what it's like for women in Yemen? And I love knowing that there were queens that ruled Yemen. I didn't know that. But can you talk about how, what it's like now for human rights for women in your country, and what you had to battle to be the leader that you are?
Look, when we talk about that, we were ruled by a very great, queens, that they ruled Yemen by democracy, by freedom, and also by prosperity. That doesn't mean that Yemeni women now, that they are just, just thinking and dreaming about their great, queens. They are themselves, queen by themselves, because Yemeni women are so strong, really so strong, and sacrifice a lot for gaining a lot of freedom for them. Look, the most important thing that Yemeni women under the rule of the dictator was playing a traditional role, and that is what every dictator in the world wanted. They want women to play either a traditional role or a role as a decor. So traditional role to play in some role in the kitchen or with women environment, or to be represented in some seats in parliament or government or something. It's as a fake representation for women, and as to make the image of his authority beautiful, to decor his. So in Yemen, unfortunately, the dictator played this rule, and he was how can I say it, by purpose. He put women, he didn't support women anyway. He wanted women to play traditional rule, and if he want women to participate in political life, he just choose one woman to be in the parliament and two women in government, and he said, "Oh, okay, I'm supporting women." But we women, and why did he do that? Because he is very, very afraid from women, and he knows really that if women participate in the reality, in the public life, in political life, that means that he will open a very dangerous door against him, because women doesn't involve in corruption, and women, when they participate in work, they are really hardworking, especially in women in Yemen, and they are so clever, and they have women in Yemen, they have the high score in the high school and in the university, etc., etc. So we women know that as he wants us to stop and as he wants us to play traditional rule, we know that we are the one who will force him to leave the authority. So we didn't listen to him as a political leader, as a dictator, and also we didn't listen to the religious people, that they play the bad rule under the pretext of the religion, and he ordered those religious people to give fatwas, to give religious orders to women to stay at home, and they shouldn't participate in public life in general, or especially in the revolution, when we call the revolution, for the revolution. So we women make a great revolution against the dictator, and against his hands, which is the religious people, and also against the bad and tradition and customs. We went to the street. We led the most difficult field of political participation, which is the revolution against the dictator. And we women, with men, not alone, we women, because we announced for the revolution, and I was the first one that arrested by the dictator, under the pretext that I am calling to destroy the regime. So yes, women did a great work in the revolution. We forced him to leave the authority peacefully, and we led the revolution with men. And after that, in the transitional period, we also led the transitional period in the by national dialogue conference, and also by the committee of the constitution. And we were participating in every field in the transitional period, as we participated in the revolution. And we wrote a great draft of constitution that guarantee every rights. And here it's very important to put red line under every right, because when we talk about women, we talk about human. And women in Yemen and countries like Yemen suffer as a human first and then as a woman. So we as a citizen suffer because we don't have expression rights, we don't have democratic rights, we don't have the right of accountability, and all these rights is human rights and also women's rights. So when we wrote the Constitution, we wrote the first thing, which is to guarantee the expression rights, to guarantee democratic rights, to guarantee accountability, transparency, etc., etc., and also to guarantee women's rights. So we put 30% for women in every authority, in the judiciary, in the government, in parliament, in every in army. So we did it in the Constitution, and also we made a lot of important articles for women and for kids, like prevent the early marriage, and also we decided that the age of childhood is 18 years old, and we did a great work as a woman, participated in this writing the draft of Constitution. So we did a great work, we prevailed the battle. But after that, now we as women and we as human are suffering from the counter-revolution led by militia of al-Houthi, from one hand that supported from Iran, and from also Saudi and Emirates, coalition, that they are waging war against Yemenis. They are destroying Yemen, they are occupying Yemen, and both of them, they are destroying our gains, and also they are attacking women and children in my country. But again, it's the battle of freedom. Again, we will not give up. We didn't, and we will not give up. And we know that we wage a great revolution against dictators, not just one dictator in the Arab Spring countries. A lot of dictators against in Muammar al-Gaddafi in Libya, Bashar al-Assad in Syria, Hosni Mubarak in Egypt, Ben Ali in Tunis, and after that in Sudan, al-Bashir, and in Algeria, Bouteflika. So we did a great, and we prevailed. So we didn't see that ourselves that we lose. No, we are in the battle of freedom, and we are facing a very bad and a very ugly counter-revolution led by these monarchies, by Saudi and Emirates, especially by Saudi and Emirates, and then Iran. So they don't want democracy. They don't want freedom in our region, in our countries, and also in the region, because they are so afraid from democracy, that their people in their countries, that they will call for democracy. But one day they will do, and I can assure you that this day will come.
Yeah, I can tell you're unfailingly, unyieldingly, passionately committed. Nothing is going to stop you. So inspiring. Yeah, thank you. Beautiful. Dan?
Tawakkol, I was going to ask a question about how you chose journalism, but I actually want to pick up what you were just saying, which was very powerful. And earlier in today's events, we were talking about the state violence that has been permitted, particularly for poor people, Black people, Indigenous people, people of color here in the United States. And we are wrestling right now as a nation with how to confront this, to undo it, and to do it in a way that is about the values we aspire to see embedded in those systems. You have practiced nonviolence throughout your entire life as an activist in a country where it's a heavily armed country like our country, in a place where violence is considered to be a legitimate way by the state to respond to social unrest. How have you, first of all, how do you think about nonviolence, and how have you sustained a fight that is a nonviolent fight to create change?
Look, I always believe that with non-violent, we will win the battle. Non-violent is the most important and is the easiest way to prevail. It is the, low cost, and also, yeah. So it's the low cost, and also it is, the ultimate prevailing. The ultimate victory is with non-violent. So with violent, maybe you will lose the battle. With violent, maybe you will a lot of enemies around you, while they are one day should be your friends. So we prevail in our battle by non-violence, especially in Yemen. With Yemen, we are an armed, society, an armed country on more 70 million pieces of weapons. And if we decided to use that weapons to confront the authority, the dictator, absolutely, we lose that battle. But because we were so committed to nonviolence, and he really wanted us to use violence, because that is his battle. He knows how to use it. They know how to use it, and they have more tools, more weapons than us. So how can we face all that? And also they will have a lot of solidarity with them. But with nonviolence, you will have a lot of friends, a lot of supporters within your country and without your outside your country. So my advice to every people around the world who sacrifice, who struggle for a cause, it should be non-violent. Don't use violence at all. Don't use it. So when you use it, that doesn't mean that your cause is not noble, but yeah, at least you will make the victory will be long. It will take really long time. So this is what we did, and this is what I convinced. How can I convince? How did I convince Yemeni people to rise non-violence in front of violence while they are armed society? I started with myself as a woman, and that was very strange. As I told you, under the rule of the dictator, women plays a traditional role. So a woman went to the street, raising some slogans, some chanting, singing, calling Yemeni people to wake up, calling Yemeni people to just rise the flowers. And always I said, ثورتنا بالورود لا رصاص لا بارود. Our revolution with flowers, not bullet, not bullet, not bombs. So it's by practicing it. And when the dictator arrested me, he made my voice stronger, and Yemeni people went to the street, raising the same flag, raising the same singing the same song, and having the same dream. So, and that is, and also the youth of Sana'a University also did a great work. The students did a great work in Yemen. And look, when I'm talking about myself as Tawakkol, I'm also talking about women and people in other countries, in Arab Spring countries. There is many people like me in Egypt, in Syria, in Sudan, in Tunis, in all the Arab Spring countries. People started with Arabs with peaceful way to stop the dictatorship. But there is people like us in Yemen, in Tunis, in Egypt. They continue their path with peaceful way, and some other, unfortunately, their dictators push them to use, violence, to face the violence with violence. And that was in my opinion, that was a very big mistake. But this is what happened. And unfortunately, the international committee leave them alone, people in Syria alone until now. They are banished because they just called for freedom. They just called for democracy. And because of the silence of America and the silence of Western government, and sometimes because of their complicity, they made, Syria as as a sea, as an ocean of blood. And also they create ISIS and terrorism. The same thing now with Libya, when they supported Haftar and when they supported, the counter-revolution. The same thing now with supporting Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi, supporting him after all his crimes in Yemen, after all his crimes against his people inside Saudi, after his arresting women activists in the prison of Saudi, after his killing and cutting the body of Jamal Khashoggi, and until now they still communicate with him, and they still make partnership with him and dealing with him as a leader. So that is a big mistake, and people in America should know that their government is committing a very big crime against American interests when they ally, when they're making a very big alliance with the dictators, because those dictators are killing people in their countries. Those dictators are the source of the terrorism. Those dictators are the source of threatening all the global peace. Those dictators is the source of chaos around the world. So they should stop American administrations, not just any administration of America. When they started to support any dictator, I hope the youth in the US, the NGOs in the US, the media in the US, to do all their efforts to stop that, because they are committing a very big mistake.
Take a deep breath. And I want to make a link to what you said earlier, that the work we are doing now around racial healing in the United States directly relates to our ability to then be courageous internationally in the way we operate with people. That was
yes, it is.
Exactly.
It is. And by the way, it's shame until now that America is suffering from racial, practices. It is shame. But also at the same thing, there is a very big hope that those people that demonstrating, they will stop this racial, activities and acts. So they shouldn't stop. And again, this will be the first step of freeing America, because now America under the arrest because this is not America. Yes, America committed a lot of crimes when it established against indigenous people, and that is a very big mistake and a very big crimes that it should be healing. But at the same time, there is values that America said that they are established. There is values of human rights, of democracy, of equality. Where is these values? So people in America should wake up, as we told our people in our countries that they should wake up against the dictators. People in America should wake up to stop their administrations, that they are destroying the world. They are destroying America, and they are destroying the world. America, it's placed to be the leader of the world, not to be a leader who protects the dictators. And because they protect the dictators, now they are behind Russia and they are behind China, because they lose their path. So now China and Russia is the leaders, the leader, and they are stronger than America, because America, missed its way. They don't know how to. But if it's committed to support human rights inside America and outside America, that will be, that America will, return its, strengthen, and it will be great again. Not great as Trump wants. It's great, the real great, greatness of America.
Thank you. Lynn, you're still on mute.
I'm talking to you on mute. Yikes. I love listening to you talk. It's like you're lighting a fire that's already burning in America, but really the kind of fire that we need. I wanted to, I don't know, Dan, this is one of the questions you were going to ask, but I'm so eager to ask you about your role on the Facebook Oversight Board. You've been named as 20 independent experts from around the world who are committed to moderating content and preventing hate speech and extremism on Facebook. And last night I watched a very important new film called The Social Dilemma on Netflix that talks about what social media is doing to our divisiveness, our hate, like it's kind of getting into our brains, and how important it is to begin to regulate the massive information and data that's coming to people that's uncensored and unmonitored. And so the passion that you have to have civil society step up with moral authority, with integrity, with heart and commitment, with truth, that's what we need to be spreading, as you're doing right now. But I just wanted to ask you, Tawakkol, that whole thing about social media and your role in Facebook, what has the experience been like, and how can you, in that role, help advance the cause of human rights and social justice? And I know we only have a few minutes left, so Dan, sorry to take that question. You were going to ask it, but I just really want to hear from you about that. It's such a cool thing that you're part of that. It's just, I love that they chose you.
Okay, wait a minute, I will close the door. There is some noise, Kim.
And we have to end on time, Dan? I suppose we do.
We're going to try to as close to as possible. So this will probably be our last question.
Okay. Okay. And
Look,
then you
with Oversight Board, I am so happy that I am a member of this very important board, because I believe that Facebook and Instagram is a very important platform that should protect the voice of people. And through my role in this platform, on this board, I will act my main mission, which is protecting expression rights. I started my journey in human rights by defending on expression rights. So this is my mission, and this is my daily work. So with expression rights, we will guarantee all the rights, women's rights, democracy rights, everything that we want, to protect. We should start it with the expression rights. So when these platforms be threatened by the authoritarian regimes, we should, stand against that. And that is exactly what is happening at least in our region, region, and also in other, authoritarian countries around the world. They are, seeing to the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all other social media platforms as their enemies, because they give the people their voice. They want to control the voice of people, and my role in this board, is to protect these voices, and also at the same time to stop the fakeness, especially the fakeness, the fake accounts, because through this fake account, they are, the dictators, the authoritarian regimes use these fake accounts to stop the voice of people, by reports, by making fake news, by etc. etc. So it is a big mission. There is no time to speak about it, but this is, one of my main mission in the oversight board. And I hope. And then, by the way, this is not my only mission. The mission of all our, member in the board is, to protect expression rights.
Tawakkol, this is Dan, and we are out of time, and I feel like we've just begun. So I just want to thank you. You are extraordinarily busy, and to take the time to share your wisdom and really to charge us in civil society in America to think about our work internally and our work internationally has been a profound challenge. And I want to at least make good on my commitment to carry your message forward.
Daniel, before we finish, I saw a question about normalization with Israel agreements.
Yes.
If you allow me, I want to know and this is the first time that I give my opinion.
It's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry, that was my computer. Go.
Okay. No, I said that these agreements doesn't create a peace, because there is no war and conflict between, between Israel and those countries. Unfortunately, these agreements create more dictatorship because those dictators that make these agreements, they doesn't want peace. They just want to protect themselves from their nations. And Israel committing again another mistake when they think that they will create peace with those dictators. They should create peace with people in Palestine and people in Arab region. And I think and I believe that people are ready for that. What is happening, especially after Arab Spring, that Israel is also make the same mistake that America is doing with alliance with those dictators. Those dictators, their destiny will be to go out from the authority and to be accountable from their people. So they should think, Israel should think in a very strategic way that people will not stop their struggle against those dictators. And if they want to make real peace, we are people ready for that, not the dictators.
Thank you. Again, I just want to thank you for, it's late where you are and you have mustered an enormous amount of passion to share your point of view. And I know that you were concerned about your English. You have made yourself incredibly clearly understood. So please know your message landed with great deal of clarity.
Thank you.
So thank you. Hopefully to be continued. Know that you have solidarity with those of us in American civil society, and we look forward to continuing to partner in any way we can.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you for the inspiration you are, Tawakkol, for women, for men, for young people, for old people, for everybody who cares about this world. Your passion is infectious. It's that's what we want to go viral, your passion, your love. And thank you so much for everything that you stand for. You're a wonder, you're an icon, you're a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome.